All righty, boob tubes. Another one of Kip's clips. So, who started the war in Ukraine? Now, I done a timeline last night, and this is my timeline in the sense that this is all I know, because this is when I was keeping an eye on the news and whatnot, and this is the way I see it. So, at the moment, what you'll hear constantly droned out over your news stations and whatnot, right? And not even just your news stations. People in fact, I'll be honest, I do not watch so-called alternative media. The stuff I watch, do you know the stuff I watch on YouTube now? Sky News, GB News, Talk TV, Al Jazeera. That's my YouTube diet. People send me clips and fucking people are like, see that video and all that. And I'm like, well, no. It's just a complete change of habit for me. I used to get all my information and whatnot, primarily from social medias, and shit. And there is no escaping it. Do you know what I mean? Like when I turn on my YouTube and get your homepage, you get that stuff put in front of you, and sometimes you can't help but twitch. But ultimately, I get my information from scouring the news. Does that make any sense? I'm not sitting there tuned to RT. I'm not sitting there tuned to X, Y, or Z. That's a brilliant one, actually. So I get it from all over the gaff, and then do you know what I do? I put it in my nut and think to myself, it's mental. It's mental. Instead of scouring the social medias with the inability to think or make any fucking opinion for yourself. Borrow it from here, borrow it from there, borrow it from every fucking where. I'm just schizophrenic that way, in the sense, make my shit up. So, this is the way I see how the Ukraine war started. Now, for the purposes of disclosure, when this was kicking off, it was in and around the time that, like, I would arguably say that I was digesting far too much social media shit. That social media stuff consisted of like the likes of Press TV, etc., RT, etc. And I thought it was amazing because they're saying shit that the BBC and ITV and Sky ain't saying. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is a new world. But it was after the explosion of the internet, but it was at the infancy. So I remembered Yanukovych, the democratically elected. Oh fuck! I look like I've got a Ukrainian strip on. I just realised that. Come on, Ukraine! I remembered Yanukovych and Maidan, because see, when Maidan was happening, I was fucking digesting that 24/7, because there was literal war zone in Independence Square. And then you had RT telling you about snipers on the roof. You had the BBC telling you Yanukovych is fucking the next Hitler. How many next Hitlers is there going to be, man? We need a new Hitler so we can have a new next dude. Does that make any sense? We can't keep having all these new Hitlers. It's lost its gravitas, man. It's lost its panache. So I remember Yanukovych and Maidan and finding out what was actually going, in my opinion, what I thought was going on there. Yanukovych, democratically elected, started gearing the massive Ukrainian economy and all its resources towards the Russian Federation, i.e. weights, standards, etc., so it's easier to trade. It just allows trade to flow easier, instead of like them working in the metric system and them working in the imperial system or whatever it's called, just like the UK had to do with coming into the EU. You know what I mean? So there was a tug of war going on between the Russian Federation and the European Union predominantly, but the West in general, right? With the European Union obviously having borders with them, which is predominantly the vast majority of trade, but even the grain and all that getting imported out the Black Sea and whatnot. Anywho, so it was all economics. Now, some people would argue, I don't know this guy. He's now sitting fucking in Russia, so make it out, you will. Right? But a lot of people would say he was kind of Russia's dude in Ukraine. Now, this is where that story ends when you tune into Western media. Or if you tune into independent media, they'll just go, no, of course he wasn't. Of course he wasn't. You know, they're polarised, right? Like, no doubt this guy was sucking Putin's cock. And I would say the evidence of that is the fact that he's now sitting living a lovely life in Ruski, right? But nobody opens up the fucking panel. The opposite side clearly is on the fucking take for the West. So there's a tug of war going on, right? And ever since the Cold War and the end of the Cold War and NATO expansion and the USSR ending, but Russia's influence retracting, there's been trying to be a reprogramming of the societies of Eastern Europe. I kind of experienced it myself having a Polish girlfriend back in the day, right? And in Ukraine itself, it would be very fractured because you've got large. I don't know the exact demographics. I'll need to check that out at some point. It would be interesting. But you got a lot of people in Ukraine. They feel more Russian than European, but you've got people in Ukraine that feel more European than Russian. And that's fine, as long as there's no some cunt trying to drive a wedge between them, and that's what's happened. So who was trying to drive a wedge? Was it was it Russian? Was it Russia who had their man, let's say he was, Yanukovych, democratically elected? That would suggest that Russia's man in Ukraine had the popular support. But of course, all you do is need to say, it was a hoax. It was a fraud. That's all you need to do nowadays. Look at Trump. It's a fraud. You get every cunt, every fucking all the farmers with their pitchforks out. There's a word I'm trying to say then I forget. Anyway, so this was Yanukovych. Now this is the Reuters report. But let me see. Where's the date on this bad boy? This was December 2013, right? Now Yanukovych, as I said, democratically elected, probably Putin's man. Yada yada yada. Went over that stuff. You can go and check him out for yourself. Make your own opinions up. I'm just saying the timeline as I see it. Now I knew this is Maidan. That's what was stuck in my head. And as you can see, I can't even spell whatever that fucking. Anyway, my spelling aside, it's now been rebranded Euromaidan or Euromaidan. I don't know. I see Euromaidan. Do you know? But anyway, and that was when the guy who was democratically elected, the people decided, oh, he's a bad guy, corruption, bad man, I seen him, fuck a pig, right? And then the Maidan Square happened. Now, revolution or coup, depends which side of the line you're fucking standing on. Rev or coup. Now, some would say what happened was a coup. I think it was, because Yanukovych geared the economy towards Russia. Russia had no reason to remove this guy, whereas the West, the EU and the West, had plenty of reason to remove this guy because they wanted Ukrainian economy geared to them, make them more money. It's a fucking racket, man. It's a mafia war for fucking territory. So Maidan happened, Yanukovych get kicked out, and then we had the whatever. I think they were branding it the Orange Revolution or some shit again. How many fucking coloured revolutions you're going to have over there? Now, this was, it began on the 21st of November 2013, and I think it went on for a good bit. See, it wasn't removed till 2014. Right, there we go. 3 months, they lay siege to that place, man. And go and watch what was happening. This wasn't like wee Tom, Dick and Harry with a placard going, "Hell ho, he must go, he's a bad man, we know. Hey ho, he must go, he's a bad man, we know." No. This was petrol bombs, paramilitary style organised units. RT was saying a sniper, whether there was or wasn't, who fucking knows. This was an organised military operation. Go and watch it, man. Plenty of footage out there, right? So there's the timeline. Yanukovych gears his economy towards the Russian Federation, not to the EU. Then Maidan happens. Now, I'm arguing Maidan was the start of the fucking war. Because I don't think that was your wee Tom, Dick and Harry and Bob fit down the street. It was in that square. It was people cladded in black, organised, fucking shields, petrol bombs. They knew what they were doing. Organised military style. It's almost as if like some fucking, I don't know, people maybe with some skin in the game, organised and fucking got these groups together. And no doubt there was Ukrainians in them, but it was Ukrainians that felt more European than Russian, because there'd been a wedge drove between that fucking country, between that society and that country. And then boom shakalaka, you have Maidan lasting for, what was it, 3 months fair or something. And I'm getting kicked out. Euromaidan. Aye. So 3 months. Right, so who started the war? Who started the war? And I'm not telling you, you make your own mind up and just bear this shit in mind. And then the Crimea thing, shit. When did the Crimea have? Crimea. Can't do two things at once, man. Well, don't look into the history of Crimea, man. People will get Crimea, Russia. Russia invasion, yes. Come on, just fucking give me the date, man. Alright, Crimea crisis. Right, so 2014. Right, so if you don't know the strategic importance about Crimea to Russia, don't believe me, go and check it out, but I'm telling you, it's very important from a naval perspective, if that's the right way to put it. But if it's really, 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 very, very, really, 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 very, really, really important for the Russian military, they were never going to give it up. Never, ever, 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 ever. Right? It was always going to have to be removed from Russia by military force. Now, Russia, they say that Russia invaded Crimea. They didn't. They were all fucking out of there. They have a fucking big, massive fucking base there. People in Crimea speak fucking Russia, and I got a big, massive fucking bridge connecting it. Anywho, I digress. So Russia wasn't going to give up Crimea. That was one of the treasures the West would want, tried to get. By invading, if you see in Maidan as a Western invasion, I do. I know it's not physically, but it's by proxy. It's an invasion by proxy. It's taking that country away from the Russian Federation and putting it towards the European Union. It's an invasion economically, not economically, man. Go and look what happened in Maidan. It's a military operation. So, my point being, right, the Crimea happened in 2014, and that was when Maidan finished in February 2014, and then boom, Crimea happened the 20th of February 2014. You see how they're interlinked? Boom. Russia knew what was happening. They're like, oh, fuck. The EU and the West are coming to take over this country. Technically, Crimea is Ukrainian, although Russia had like 1,000-year lease on it or something, right? But that would get it taken away or fucking burnt or lost underneath this fucking sofa, if the West managed to get their dude into Kiev, not chicken Kiev. I'm gonna go to a restaurant one day and go, hey, can you ask the chef to cook me up a lovely chicken? Anyway, so there's the timeline. Who started the fucking war? And then, if you look at the map that Russia's took over, right, what have they done? They've built a barrier between them, and let's call, for all intents and purposes, they are the Ukraine NATO. They're all but in name fucking NATO. A barrier between them and Russia, and they've protected Crimea to make sure there can't be a ground invasion on Crimea, right? Because that's militarily is very, 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 very important, as I said. So there you have it. There's the timeline. Who started the war? Did the war start when Russia went and guarded Crimea because they knew the West was coming for it? And the West knew Russia would never get up without a fight. I don't know why they rushed this shit without having the resources to fuck them over, fucking ASAP. But anyway, and Zelensky fucking thinks that as well, if you listen to him. So who started the war? There's the timeline. You make up your own mind. I'm arguing it was the EU and predominantly fucking America as well, trying to get their claws into that country. Scared because Yanukovych was going to gear the economy towards the Russian Federation, i.e. making the Russian Federation do off that, and scared to lose a lot of the trade or make less money for the trade because they're getting in bed with the Ruskies. So, is there any news organisations that will touch on any of those points? Is their memory that fucking short when they're talking about this shit all kicking off and why Ukraine is a shithole of a fucking death zone that it is? That's not true, by the way. It's only those wee bits and like maybe a couple of missiles coming into your fucking city every now and again. But who started this? Anyway, get it, got it, good. Fucking come on then, Motherwell. Catchies.
Clips, clips.
And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well. And $19.95 plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell.